Okay, so let's unpack this. I want you to picture a very specific moment in life.
Hmm.
You finally made it. You're in your 50s. Maybe you're eyeing retirement, looking at those, glossy travel brochures,
Yeah.
maybe a cruise through the Mediterranean, or just like a quiet cabin in the woods.
It's the victory lap phase of life. You've run the marathon, and now you just get to walk and breathe.
Exactly. You are cooling down. The silence of an empty nest. You've done the hard work. You raised your kids, paid your dues. The mortgage is finally looking manageable.
You've earned it.
You've earned it. And then in the blink of an eye, sometimes in the span of a single afternoon or just one phone call, it all vanishes. The silence is gone. The travel brochures go right in the trash.
It's the nightmare scenario for some, isn't it? The plan doesn't just change, it completely evaporates.
Completely. Suddenly, you are handed a toddler or a 6-year-old or maybe a pair of twins, and you're told, start over.
Right back to square one.
You're back to school runs, packed lunches, parent-teacher conferences, and sleepless nights right at the moment you thought you were crossing the finish line.
Yeah.
That is the second shift to parenthood. And honestly, it is a phenomenon we don't talk about enough. But today, we're diving deep into a story that tackles this head-on. We're looking at Day by Day by Delia Parr.
It's such a fascinating piece of, I guess you'd call it domestic realism.
It feels very real.
It does, and the context really matters here. It's set in this sweltering, humid summer in Welleswood, New Jersey.
Ugh, you can feel the humidity just reading it.
You can. The atmosphere is sticky and uncomfortable, which, I mean, it mirrors the situation perfectly. And what I love about this source material is that it doesn't sugarcoat any of this. It gives us 3 very distinct women, Judy, Barbara, and Ginger,
Right.
and they're all thrust into this role of grandmother, and notice I'm separating those 2 words.
Right. Grand and mother. 2 distinct things.
Exactly. It's treated almost like a badge of honor in the text, like a title earned through combat. And these women, they're navigating grief, financial ruin, betrayal, and somehow, amidst all that chaos, they form this incredibly unlikely support system.
So let's set that stage. We have 3 women from totally different walks of life,
Yeah.
and they're all converging on this one single shared experience.
Right. And to really understand the weight of what they're going through, we have to understand who they were before the crisis hit.
That's a great point.
Because the central tension here, the thing that drives the whole narrative, is that none of them chose this path. It was thrust upon them by their adult children's failures or, their tragedies.
Okay, so let's start with Judy Roberts. Because out of everyone, I feel like Judy is the one who's just barely hanging on by her fingernails from page 1.
Judy is the absolute definition of survival mode. She's a 57-year-old widow. She works on her feet all day as a hairdresser at a salon called Pretty Ladies.
Which, just by the name, you can practically smell the hairspray and the perm solution.
You absolutely can. And her life is, well, it's grand in spirit, I guess, but financially it's a complete house of cards.
Right.
She lives in a row house that's paid off, which, sounds secure on the surface, but she can barely afford the taxes. She has no car, so she's walking everywhere in that oppressive New Jersey heat.
And then the storm hits. Or maybe I should say the motorcycle pulls up.
Right, and what a visceral scene that is. You have her son-in-law, Duke,
This Duke.
and the text describes him so vividly. He's this massive guy, tattoos, earrings, riding a Harley. He physically represents everything that went wrong with Judy's daughter. And he literally drops off Judy's 6-year-old grandson, Brian, on her front porch.
Like a package from Amazon.
Worse than a package. He essentially says, I've got plans, and the kid isn't part of them. And the mother, Judy's daughter, Candy,
Nowhere to be found.
nowhere. She's back in rehab, or maybe she's run off again. Nobody's sure. Duke just hands Judy an envelope of legal papers, giving her temporary custody, and just rides off into the sunset.
That is just heart-wrenching. And Judy hasn't really seen this boy since he was a baby, has she?
No, exactly. She's a stranger to him, and he's a stranger to her. And what really strikes me about Judy's narrative is the immediate, crushing practicality of it all.
Yes.
It's not just the emotional weight of... The source text highlights these mundane disasters that become total catastrophes when you're broke.
You mean like the refrigerator incident?
Yes. Almost immediately after Brian arrives, her refrigerator breaks down. Now, for many of us, that's an inconvenience.
Huge inconvenience, but you deal.
You put it on a credit card. For Judy, that is a complete disaster. That's $500 she does not have. It means she's not paying the property tax this month. It means she's calculating the cost of milk versus the cost of electricity. Then the toilet clogs because Brian flushes a toothbrush.
Of course.
Everything in her house is breaking just as her life is breaking.
It's death by 1,000 cuts. It's so stressful.
It is. She's living paycheck to paycheck, and suddenly she has another mouth to feed. But the emotional toll is, I think, even heavier. There's this moment at the school that really, for me, defines Judy's struggle. Brian draws a picture of his family.
Oh, I remember this part. It's chilling.
It is absolutely chilling. Most kids draw, stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun.
Right. Mom, dad, the dog.
Brian draws his father, Duke, surrounded by weapons, knives, guns. And he draws his mother, Candy, lying on the floor surrounded by needles.
My God, a 6-year-old drawing that from memory.
It's the stark, awful realization for Judy. She realizes that while she's been worried about paying for milk and buying winter clothes, this little boy has survived a war zone.
Yeah.
It totally shifts her perspective from this is an inconvenience to I am saving this child's life. She realizes she is the only thing standing between him and that drawing becoming his future.
So that's Judy.
Yeah.
Scrappy, working class, terrified, but also incredibly determined. Then we have Barbara Montgomery. And on the surface, Barbara seems like she's living the dream.
Yeah.
A totally different world.
Completely different socioeconomic bracket.
Yeah.
Barbara owns Grandmother's Kitchen, which is this very upscale antique shop on Antiques Row.
The name of the shop is just brutally ironic now.
Very. She sells nostalgia, expensive china, silver, things that represent a perfect, orderly past. She's married to John, a successful CPA.
Right.
They were literally planning to sail around the world for their retirement. The brochures were on the table. They were dreaming of the open ocean. They had, for all intents and purposes, won the game of life.
And then the phone rings. Or rather, the knock comes at the door.
It's the knock on the door that every single parent dreads. Her son, Steve, was murdered.
And not just murdered, but in this incredibly random, senseless way.
Right. He was just at an ATM in Philadelphia, middle of the day. He's described as a good man, a devoted father, shot and killed. And here's the kicker. His wife, Angie, had abandoned the family 3 years prior.
So she was already gone.
Already gone. So suddenly, Barbara and John are left with twin granddaughters, Jessie and Melanie.
Wow. So Barbara is dealing with the grief of losing her only son, the sudden responsibility of raising twin 6-year-olds, and there's this high-profile investigation happening in the background.
And that investigation, it just adds this layer of toxicity to her grief.
How so?
It turns out the suspects, the people who killed her son, they aren't, career criminals. They are 2 teenage sisters, honor students, churchgoers.
That has to be mind-bending for her. How do you even process that?
It shatters her entire worldview. If good girls from good families can be killers, what makes sense anymore?
Right.
It makes the world feel incredibly unsafe, unpredictable. And Barbara's struggle is so distinct from Judy's. Judy is worried about money. Barbara has money. Her struggle is isolation. She's in what the text calls a glass house of grief.
Explain that glass house concept a bit more. What does that mean?
Well, she's a prominent business owner in a small town. Everyone knows her. Everyone knows what happened. She feels she has to maintain appearances. She can't be seen falling apart in the grocery store. She has to be the stoic, wealthy grandmother who has it all together. But inside, she is absolutely broken. She's angry at God. She's angry at the unfairness of it all. And she's terrified she's too old to raise these girls properly.
So she feels like she's on display.
Constantly. And if she cracks, the whole town will see.
It's a different kind of prison. Judy is trapped by poverty. Barbara is trapped by propriety and her own grief.
Precisely.
And then there's Ginger King. Now, her story just made me so angry. I mean, Judy's daughter is an addict. That's a disease, a terrible one. Barbara's son was murdered. That's a tragedy. But Ginger's situation, it's betrayal.
It is the betrayal of abandonment, pure and simple. Ginger is middle class, works part-time at a candy shop called Sweet Stuff.
Another great name.
A very normal, happy life with her husband, Tyler. And then her daughter, Lily, comes to visit.
Lily, who lives in Boston and is kind of moved up in the world.
Right. So Lily has an 8-year-old son, Vincent. But Lily has married into the Taft family. We're talking old money, high society, proper Bostonians. And apparently, in that rarefied air, having an illegitimate child from a previous relationship is a deal breaker.
It's social suicide.
Exactly.
So she hides him, her own son.
She hides him. She marries this wealthy guy, Paul, and doesn't tell his family that Vincent exists. She leaves Vincent with her parents for the summer, supposedly to break the news to the new family gently later on.
But that's not what happens at all.
Not even close. The climax of this subplot is just devastating. Ginger goes to the airport to meet Lily, thinking Lily is finally taking Vincent back to Boston. And Lily, she just chooses her new life.
She just says no.
She basically says, I can't take him. It would ruin everything. And she gets on a plane and leaves her son behind.
I can't even imagine being the grandmother in that moment, standing there in the middle of the airport, realizing your daughter has just orphaned her own child for a country club membership?
Yeah.
Status?
Exactly. It creates this incredibly complex cocktail of emotions for Ginger. She loves Vincent. Obviously, he's her grandson. But she is furious with her daughter. She's ashamed of her daughter.
Of course.
And she has to hide that shame from Vincent to protect him. She can't tell him, your mom chose her new husband over you.
She has to protect him from the truth of who his mother really is. That's an impossible position.
Yes. So she's carrying this toxic, awful secret while trying to raise a confused, angry little boy who just wants his mom.
So we have these three women, Judy fighting for sheer survival, Barbara drowning in public grief, Ginger reeling from this unbelievable betrayal. They are on these parallel tracks in this small town, but they don't really know each other until
the principal's office.
The great equalizer.
It is. It doesn't matter if you drive a luxury car or if you walk to school because you can't afford gas. When you get someone to the principal's office because your kid, or in this case your grandkid, was in a fight, you feel small.
So what happened? What caused the schoolyard ruckus, as the book calls it?
It's actually a perfect storm of their three worlds colliding. It's almost poetic.
Okay.
So Judy's grandson, Brian, tries to take a sketch pad from Ginger's grandson, Vincent. Vincent resists. In the scuffle, he accidentally knocks over Barbara's granddaughter, Melanie, and then Melanie's twin sister, Jessie, a little firecracker, jumps in to defend her.
A complete pileup, a royal rumble of 6- and 8-year-olds.
Exactly. And so all three women are called in to face Mrs. Worth, the young, polished principal, and Mrs. Booth, the guidance counselor.
I just love that image. These women in their 50s, late 50s, sitting in those little elementary school chairs, being lectured by women young enough to be their own daughters.
It is a pivotal moment in the narrative because up until now, they've each felt singular in their struggle. I'm the only one dealing with this.
No one understands.
Exactly. But looking around that table, they realize the truth. They are all grandmothers raising grandchildren. Yeah. They see the exhaustion in each other's eyes. They recognize the look, the worry.
There's that great moment where a customer at the salon tells Judy she is a grandmother, separating the words to make it sound majestic. And in that office, you feel that identity starting to solidify for all of them.
It does. And the barriers, the class differences, they start to break down. Judy immediately admits Brian was at fault, which takes a lot of courage.
It does.
Ginger reveals Vincent's secrecy about his drawing, which heartbreakingly turns out to be a drawing of his mother. And Barbara, the woman in the glass house, she admits she's overwhelmed. It's the first crack in the armor for her.
So they found each other. They've made a connection. But that doesn't make the day-to-day reality any easier. Let's talk about the actual burden to that second shift, because the source material goes into such painful detail about the logistics of this.
Oh, the physicality of it really stands out. I mean, we just aren't designed to chase 6-year-olds when we are 60. There's a side character, Anne, who works with Judy at the salon. She's not a main character, but she perfectly mirrors Judy's reality. She's battling gout, she's exhausted all the time, she's breaking her teeth on a piece of candy. She represents the physical decay that Judy is fighting against every single day.
They're tired.
They are bone-deep tired.
And financially, for Judy especially, it's a complete disaster.
Oh, particularly for Judy. The text mentions she's tempted to barter hair services just to get a locksmith to change her locks.
Why?
Because she's terrified her addicted daughter, Candy, will try to break in.
Oh, wow.
She's calculating the cost of winter clothes in July. She's skipping her own lunch just to save a few dollars for Brian.
And there's this real lack of structural support, right? It's not like there's a government program or something sweeping in to help them.
No, not at all. They are relying on a patchwork, on neighbors, on dwindling savings, and eventually on each other. But hovering over all of this, all the time, are the ghosts of the adult children. The missing generation.
Let's talk about those ghosts, because they are the reason for all of this chaos. They're always present, even when they're absent.
You have Steve, Barbara's son. He's the good ghost. His absence creates this huge void. Barbara's angry that he used an ATM daily, such a mundane, everyday habit that led to his death.
Right.
She's haunted by what could have been. She looks at the twins and sees the father they lost, the future they all lost.
And then Candy, Judy's daughter. She's not the good ghost, she's the threatening ghost.
Yes. There's a terrifying scene where the police chief, Fred Langley, comes to tell Judy that Candy has fled rehab.
Oh, no.
And the terror Judy feels isn't just about her daughter's safety, it's the fear that Candy will return, still addicted, and try to take Brian back to that hellscape. Judy is constantly looking over her shoulder. Every single time the phone rings, she thinks, is this her?
It's a constant threat. And then Lily, Ginger's daughter, she's the active antagonist. She's not a ghost, she's a villain.
She really is. And there is a specific detail here that is just devastating, the backpacks.
Oh, right. Tell us about the backpacks. That part was just awful.
So Ginger is cleaning out Lily's old room, trying to make space for Vincent. And she finds the backpacks that Lily brought with her when she visited. She finds them hidden deep in the closet.
What does that mean?
It's the moment Ginger realizes Lily never intended to take Vincent back. It wasn't a last-minute emotional decision at the airport. It was premeditated.
She'd already unpacked.
She had unpacked. She hid the evidence of her plan to leave him.
That is just... It's so cold. That proves it wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It completely destroys Ginger. It's the moment she realizes her daughter isn't just confused or weak. She's calculating.
Yeah.
And that makes the burden of raising Vincent even heavier because now she has to protect him from that malice.
It's such a heavy, heavy burden. You're raising these innocent kids who have the eyes of your own children, but you're constantly reminded of how your own children either failed or were taken from you.
Exactly. It's a double grief. You grieve the child you raised, and at the same time, you grieve the childhood your grandchild is losing.
But, and here's where the story gets really interesting, it's not all doom and gloom. This deep dive is also about resilience, and surprisingly, about chocolate.
Yes, we cannot forget the chocolate. This is the turning point, really.
Okay, so tell us about the Candy Shop Summit.
So Ginger works at Sweet Stuff.
Yeah.
And the owner, Charlene, has this wonderful, unwritten company policy. Anyone who is sad or lonely gets free chocolate.
I need to find this shop. Is it on Google Maps? Because I want to go there.
We all do. It should
Correct.
be a national policy. So Ginger invites Judy and Barbara to the shop, and eventually they start gathering in the back room of Barbara's antique shop, Grandmother's Kitchen, to eat these chocolates.
I love that.
And the author, Delia Parr, spends a lot of time on the sensory details here. The snap of the chocolate, the goo of the cherry center, the chew of the caramel.
It sounds like such a small thing, a silly thing, but it breaks the tension.
It forces them to stop. When you are in constant survival mode, you don't taste your food. You just shovel it in to keep going.
Right.
The chocolate forces them to slow down and actually experience a moment of pleasure. It triggers a sugar rush, sure, but it also allows them to be vulnerable with each other. They start laughing. They start admitting things they wouldn't tell anyone else.
The walls come down.
Completely. Judy admits she's broke. Barbara admits she's furious at God. Ginger admits she's deeply ashamed of her own daughter.
And they realize they can actually help each other.
Practical help, not just thoughts and prayers, though there is that too. They start bartering. Judy's a great hairdresser. Barbara has connections for legal help. Ginger has, well, a direct line to chocolate.
The most important resource.
But they realize that together, they have a set of skills. They can start to solve these seemingly impossible problems.
There's also the volunteer project, right? Organizing the books for the school book fair.
This is so significant because it moves them from the private sphere, their homes, the back of the shop, to the public sphere. They aren't just surviving inside their own four walls anymore.
They're re-engaging.
They are taking up space in the school. They are organizing hundreds and hundreds of used books, and they bring the kids along with them.
Then it turns into an adventure for the kids, which is great.
Right. They turn a tedious chore into a game of tag among the boxes. It represents the new normal. They're engaging with the community as parents again. They aren't just bystanders watching from the sidelines anymore. They are in the arena.
Now, we have to talk about the role of faith here, because the source material is very clear that these women rely heavily on their faith. But it doesn't feel preachy, if that makes sense.
It's very grounded. It's not presented as a magic wand that fixes everything. God doesn't swoop in and fix the refrigerator.
Oh.
It's more of a language they share, a framework for their struggle. And Barbara struggles the most with this. She has this profound, deep anger at God for allowing Steve to die.
I would too.
There's a scene by the river where she tries to pray, but all she feels is loss. She feels abandoned. She's asking these really hard questions. Why him? Why them?
That feels very real and honest.
It is. Whereas Judy's prayers are desperate and practical. Lord, please help me pay this bill. Keep Brian safe from his mother. And Ginger is praying for a change of heart in her daughter, Lily. But what's fascinating is how their faith becomes a communal act. They have this impromptu prayer circle in the antique shop. It's less about theology and more about coping. It's a way for them to say out loud, this is too big for us to carry alone.
And it's all that heavy stuff. They find these little pockets of joy. You have to talk about the ice cream incident.
Yes. Judy takes Brian out for ice cream for dinner.
For dinner, that's the childhood dream right there.
It is, and Brian is totally shocked because Judy is usually the rule follower. She's the strict one trying to create structure.
So why does she do it?
She does it to celebrate his Best Student Award, and it highlights something really important. As grandmothers, they have a different toolkit than they did as mothers.
How so?
They can mix the discipline with the indulgence. They can break the rules because they know the world won't end if a kid eats sugar for dinner once in a while. They have perspective.
Ginger even admits at one point that she likes having a child in the house again. She calls it a second chance.
And that's a key insight. When you raise your first set of kids, you're stressed, you're building a career, you're young and unsure. You worry that every single mistake will ruin them for life.
Absolutely. The pressure is immense.
Now, they have the wisdom of age. They can appreciate the simple wonder of a 6-year-old in a way they maybe couldn't 30 years ago.
So what does this all mean? We've looked at the tragedy, the struggle, the friendship. Where does this deep dive leave us?
I think it leaves us with a redefined definition of family. These 3 strangers became an absolute lifeline for one another. They evolved from resentment, resenting the situation, resenting the parents who failed them, to a place of acceptance and even love.
Yeah.
They stopped looking at what they lost, their retirement, their freedom, their quiet, and started looking at what they gained.
Which is each other and these amazing, resilient children.
Exactly. They prove that when the natural order of things breaks, when parents can't or won't raise their own children, the grandmothers step into the breach, and they do it with this fierce, unconditional love.
You know, it makes me think. We live in this world of super parents.
Yeah.
You know, the type, the organic everything, the traveling soccer teams, the intense pressure to be perfect.
Oh, the Pinterest parent?
The Pinterest parent.
Yeah.
The ones who cut sandwiches into animal shapes and speak 3 languages to their toddler.
Yeah.
And here, these 3 women, they are tired, they are broke, they are grieving, they are feeding their kids ice cream for dinner and dealing with temper tantrums in antique shops. And yet,
they are saving these children.
they're the gold standard. They prove that good enough, when it's combined with showing up every single day and maybe a little chocolate, is actually everything.
It is. It's the presence. It's the fact that when the backpack is lost, or the drawing is scary, or the nightmares come in the middle of the night, someone is there to hold their hand. That's it.
Family isn't just who you are born to. It's who shows up when the backpacks are hidden in the closet or the refrigerator breaks down. It's who meets you in the back of an antique shop to help you eat your feelings.
That's the lesson. We get through it day by day.
Day by day. That seems like the perfect place to leave it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the lives of the grandmothers of Welleswood. Go call your grandma or your mom or just that friend who brings you chocolate when things go sideways.
And maybe check your refrigerator warranty while you're at it.
Good advice. See you next time.